Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 72. Today's show is brought to you by Deborah C. Owen, Family and Life Coach at YouCanRaiseGreatKids.com. If you are tired of worrying about the choices your kid is making, or tired of the stress of constantly arguing with your kids, or them arguing with each other, then don't wait until you are truly desperate. Get the help you and your family need and deserve today. Connect with your kids with calm compassion. Call Deborah Owen at 978-835-4354. Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. We just had a really fantastic conversation with Sarah Newton, who is a parenting expert from SarahNewton.com, and that's Sarah with an H. And she has just an amazing wealth of knowledge about kids, particularly teens, and how they fit in culture, and what technology impact has on them, and just a lot of really great insight on all that stuff that worries parents all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I loved her history of how she got there. She was a police officer who was working with children or teenagers in London, and she just came across too many tragedies, and she said, this law approach, this criminology approach, or criminal approach is really not working. There's got to be a better way to kind of salvage our kids. And so she became, way before this word was ever popular, a parenting coach, 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
And she's put out her shingle, and people said, huh? But she's enjoyed a lot of work and helping parents and teens more directly.
Yep, she works directly with teens, too.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. She was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first global guest.
Yeah. We'll hope to have more of them in the future. Yeah. So we asked her what she sees as the biggest problem, and she talked about how, and this is so big, how every kid seems to have an affliction or a diagnosis or something like that. And
she said they inherited that at the UK from the United States. I was a little undone by that.
Yeah, it's probably true.
I know. It probably is.
It probably is.
You know what reminds me? You were talking earlier about your children are going off to camp, to be camp counselors.
Yes.
I was at that very same camp as a nurse a number of years ago. And this was probably 20 years ago, but I can't imagine it's any different now. Children, this was a camp for well children. This wasn't an asthma camp or a diabetes camp. This was just camp, and they came in with plastic baggies full of prescription bottles.
Yes. Yeah.
Baggies. And I was like, what is going on? It was horrific 20 years ago. I cannot even imagine.
Well, my kids weren't there 20 years ago, but
no, you're
10 to 15.
Yeah, but it was unbelievable, the amount of medication, and so she said that children identify themselves, hi, my name is Wendy, I have anxiety. And she said, no, you're worried about something.
Yeah.
Worry is normal. You should be worried about whatever it was, Worry is cool. Worry, that's a natural, but they kind of reduce it to, I'm a diagnosis.
It's the labels that we give ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a real mindset thing. We really need to move out of labeling ourselves, and that's one of the things I like about being a parent coach, actually, is I don't deal with diagnoses. Now, as Sarah pointed out, I don't ignore it because that would be foolhardy, but it's not the focus of my work with families. The focus of my work with families is on the behavior and the relationship. Really key is the relationship, and actually Sarah talked about that too.
She did, and I liked how she said, like you just said, she doesn't, she doesn't ignore the diagnoses because that would be foolhardy, but she said, I don't buy into their story around it. Yeah. And that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, that I am just this. This is how I am in the world. And
or so because I feel anxious, I therefore have anxiety.
Right, yeah. Right.
Let's change that story.
Right. And that doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. And yes, you probably could join the soccer team. You're not just because you have anxiety, it precludes you from participating in life. In some joining sort of way, like, oh, I can't do that. I'm an asthmatic. or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe you can't climb Mount Rushmore, but that doesn't mean you can't be on the chess club or something like that.
They're,
you know,
they're limiting labels. You know, we talk about limiting beliefs, but I think that these are limiting labels.
Absolutely.
And if we can, I loved, she pointed out that Malcolm Gladwell, what does he call it?
Distress.
It's in my notes. Desirable difficulties.
Yes.
And so I had to think about that for a minute. Is that something that we want to have? Is that why it's desirable? Or, you know, and in which case you're saying, I desire to have this difficulty because it makes me special? Or is it a desirable difficulty because I can take my imagined difficulty of this and I can rise above it, or I can use the positives from this difficulty.
Right.
So there are actually a couple of different ways of looking at it.
I hadn't looked at the way you mentioned the first
so
one.
I'm not sure how Malcolm Gladwell was intending that term, because I haven't read David and Goliath yet, although I do plan to. But so is it something that we desire because it gets us out of things, or is it something that is this difficulty desirable because it's got positive benefits, like ADHD kids, you know, or adults? They are very creative. They do have a lot of energy. That's desirable.
Yeah.
Even though, because of the way our school system is set up, it is a difficulty in many cases.
Now, isn't this interesting? When she talked about desired difficulty, what came to my mind was very normal milestones in life. So let me just bring it to like, oh, you have a test in math? Great. I know it feels anxiety producing. I know you're not feeling prepared, but now you get to see and measure where you are in your math skills. Great. That's a desired difficulty. So for me, I was thinking of it more normative, like everyday crap comes up. Oh, you're worried about, you know, your parents are going on a trip without you. You're worried about them. That seems perfectly reasonable. Let's work on that. That's a now you're going to get a bit older and a bit stronger and a bit more mature, because we're going to work through this, how to deal with your anxiety about your kid. I mean, your mom and dad leaving. I was thinking more normative, everyday things.
Oh, but see, she was talking about labels.
She was talking. Gladwell was talking about labels.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
So
that's why
but I
my
like
mind
what
went.
you just said too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mind went. Yeah. A
That was
desired
cool.
difficulty.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that the labels that we put on our kids and on ourselves, they're limiting. And if we can find ways to,
Anytime you have a label,
any label,
it's a limit.
Yep.
it is a limit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how much of it is actually accurate, which is a whole other realm in terms of other things I've been thinking about lately, is just because I say to myself, oh, well, you know, I'm like this. Well, am I really like that? I might have been like that 20 years ago, but it's, you know, it's 2015 now. Maybe I'm not like that anymore, you know? So it's very interesting, yeah. So we could have it grounded in something that makes sense from before, but it doesn't mean it's accurate today, because I'm a different person than I was 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
She also talked a lot about technology, and what a breath of fresh air, I have to say.
Yeah.
Fresh spin, a positive spin.
Positive
Yes.
spin on kids and technology, and just kind of on everybody's use of technology. You know, I would say embrace it. You know, that's really what my book, Social Media Fascination, is all about, is we need to embrace our use of technology and find the good in it, and also teach kids the way that they use it for communication is great, but there's ethical, moral ways of communicating with people, whether you're face to face or online. I mean,
Right.
that's the thesis of my book.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, to remember that you are online, and everything you do online is very public. I think they
Public
get into
and
their
permanent.
and permanent. They get into their conversations and they forget. You know, so as we were talking about with Sarah, they might. I feel depressed today. They might write some, you know,
Desperate thing
that makes it sound like they're going to slip their throat or something like that, and that's not the case. So they have to kind of be taught to think about that for sure. But it was refreshing, you know, because it is true, technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And as we talked about with Sarah as well, you know, kids don't want to, you know, they're moving away from Facebook, the real young kids now. My boys are 14 and 17. They don't really use it that much because the adults are on it, and they don't want to be where the adults are. They want to go to Snapchat and Instagram and whatever else they're going to create, they're going to be on. As long as the parents gravitate to where they are, they're going to gravitate away. And she pointed out, it's no different. That we've always been that way. What kid wants their parents hanging around when they're hanging around with their friends?
No.
They don't. They
Doesn't
don't
matter
want
if it's
it.
live or online.
Right. You go to the mall, you're like, I'm not gonna, you know, if you're gonna hang around with your group, you're not gonna like hang around with mom and dad.
Right. So it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's scary for us parents because because it's the big, world. They're not just on the street corner with their friends. They're talking to the entire world.
Yeah.
So it feels scary, but in some ways, as she said, it's true. When I was a teenager, I hope my kids won't watch this episode, but I used to sneak out. I used to sneak out to go to parties. I used to sneak out to go do things I shouldn't have been doing. And I really don't think my kids are doing that as much because they don't have to sneak out because they can be talking with everybody right online. So it's not
That's true.
such a...
They can cross a line right there in the palm of their hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And rebel.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Right. You're right.
But also that they're creating a lot on social media or technology is great because they're empowered to do things that we didn't do. Like my kids make videos and post them. My son has a friend who loved video games growing up, and now he's doing little tutorials, and he gets paid monthly by companies who've sought him out and said, "Can we put our commercials at the beginning of your little tutorial?"
Yeah.
And he's like,
monetized.
Sure. Yeah, it's monetized.
Perfect.
Monetized.
That's crazy.
Isn't that?
That's crazy.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Okay, so
You must be a good teacher.
I digress slightly, but it's related. So I was somebody that I was following on Facebook pointed out he sent us to a video, and it was a video of, I forget how old the kid is, like 9, something like that.
Oh.
And his father, who has embraced technology, has figured out a way to make some money. So what they do is this kid opens toys online. That's what he does. His father films him opening toys, and the kid opens it up and he talks about it, and he's saying, "Oh, this looks like it's really good, and I'm going to put these pieces together," and he starts to play with it and he puts it together, and they are now getting, I don't even know how much money they're making off of this, but the point is, toy companies now send him toys to open online because it's like a review. You know? So this is a review.
Oh boy!
And reviews they get tons of views on YouTube. So I mean, and the dad's brilliant because he's putting aside all this money for the kids' college education.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do they live with all these toys? In the house. But
probably doesn't matter, right?
Right,
matter.
No, I don't mean where they live, but I mean like their house must be filling up with
Right.
You
collateral.
can always give the toys away after you open them.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm just pointing out that technology isn't going away.
No.
We need to embrace it.
And what
we need
fun.
To
What a fun creative thing he did.
Yeah.
Right. And I love what she talked about, and I talked about too the fact that I don't have my own phone, but this is a movie production studio right here. That we or authorship. We can become. So the whole world of work and everything. So technology does have a really strong upside. I have a couple of downsides I'm not thrilled about, but we'll leave that for another episode.
Yeah. But it does. It has huge upside. It allows kids to be creative. It allows them to communicate. I mean, Sarah pointed out about this. They're talking to people from all over the world now. And how cool is that? It's making our world smaller, which in this case is good because we want to be able to get along, right? So it's kind of like if you happen to have a friend that plays whatever video game, or you've connected in a Facebook, well, they wouldn't do Facebook, but you've connected in a group or something like that online, and they happen to live in China and you live in California. I mean, that makes the world smaller.
It does.
It makes you...
and when the news comes on that some bad thing's happening in China, you perk up.
Yeah, you worry about your friend.
You worry
and
about your
say,
friend.
I hope
it's not a
everything's okay.
faceless, nameless... Well, I guess it is faceless, but you understand. You have a connection there.
Yeah. I think it's really... I always feel very hopeful that our young kids are truly going to transform and change the world. And as Sarah was saying, that there's a generational shift every 25 years, which is very interesting. I'd never heard of that before. But I think that our kids, because they are connected globally, there will be less focus on, Republican, Democrat, the conservative, liberal, whatever, these silly labels that where our generation's still caught up in and fighting about, and they're not thinking that way. They're thinking, global, much more multicultural.
Are people eating? Are they not eating? Yeah.
Yeah, and as she said, even the 14 years old and down are much more, they're more traditional.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, traditional meaning they really like family and hearth and home and
values for real.
Yeah. Although I'll be curious to see if they stay that way when they get to be 16, 17.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's an age thing or I don't know. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked her final word to us, which was have fun with your kids.
Yeah.
Have fun. Don't be shy with them or don't be reserved from them. Just really enjoy having fun with them.
So many
because
adults
our relationship with them is so important to them. Sometimes you don't realize it as much, I guess, because they're out with their friends or they're doing other things. They're very involved, and we don't, as parents, realize how important our relationship is with our kids.
Mm-hmm. And I just finished a book by Gordon Neufeld called "Hold On to Your Kids," which is really about this. And I'm kind of working through a lot of the things that I learned from this book. If you haven't gotten it yet, get it. It's an amazing book. One of the things that that Gordon talks about is how kids are so peer-oriented now as opposed to parent-oriented. And the thing is, we are biologically attuned to creating attachment, and whether that's a marriage attachment or it's a kid-parent attachment, whatever it might be. And so when they're little children, they bond to us if we are open and we work to cultivate that bond and that attachment. And that's our job, actually, as parents, is to cultivate that attachment. And because our society has become busier and we get caught up in so many other things, if we don't continue to work to maintain that attachment, there's a void. Well, guess what? Nature doesn't like a void.
No.
Right.
And so what do? They fill that attachment with that attachment void with an attachment to their peers.
Yes.
The problem is their peers are not mature.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They don't love them unconditionally, and they don't. There's so many problems with peer attachments.
Right.
And so the fact that Sarah's pointing out that younger kids are more attached to their parents now is a good thing.
Yes.
But we need to work to continue to cultivate that attachment. And if you've got teenagers or young adults who
In a
are
healthy
not-
balance.
in a healthy balance. But if you've got teenagers who are not as attached to you as they are to their peers, some of that is normal, because they are becoming independent, but some of it also is you're losing them. And there are ways that you can reattach. Rein them in, exactly, rein them in. And so if anybody out there is feeling like you have a kid who is detached from you, please contact me and I can help you figure out real strategies and tools that will help you begin to reattach to your kid so that you do have the influence that is your job and is your responsibility.
Right.
Don't abdicate your
It's
responsibility.
going to help them in the long run, right? Wow, that's interesting.
So, well, listen, I think we're just about done here, but thank you so much for being with us today. We're the Mighty Married Moms.
Thank you.
And we were just talking about our conversation with Sarah Newton of sarahnewton.com.
With an H?
With an H, Sarah with an H. And if you've enjoyed this show, we wish that you would please share it with your family and friends and subscribe to us on iTunes and check us out online at mightymarriedmoms.com. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.